I'd love to welcome you to Master Your Life Beyond the Boardroom podcast, a place for ambitious individuals to capture proud moments on who they've become. It's a discussion that finds insights, the highs and the lows on where they have been at stages in their life. A safe space to share and openly talk about their journey. So if you're on a journey yourself and you're wanting to stretch, go further and farther than you've ever thought was possible, mastering your life is something that will connect you with your identity. I'm excited to be welcoming some very interesting guests to add value to your journey. For more information and to stay in the loop on what Master Your Life is all about and gain more value, head over to www.master-your-life.co.uk. Subscribe to my newsletter and stay in the loop. Let's get to it. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Master Your Life Beyond the Boardroom. I am your host, Luke Beastall, and I have an amazing guest on the show today. Her name is Kat Williams, and I want to just share where we met because, you know, in the intros, I always seem to let people know, and you guys especially, where we meet, because you always ask me, how do you find all these people? Well, me and Kat met at a Speakers Awards event, and we both got nominated in an award as a finalist. Now, this is a great recognition that both of us were sat on the table, super excited, networking, just had great conversations. And the energy in that room was something that I think when you're meeting people and you've got that like-minded energy, I just feel that you naturally just stay in touch once that event's actually over. And that's kind of what's happened here. And Kat just reached out and said, hey, Luke, are you looking for any more podcast guests? And my answer was simply, of course I am. And I'm so interested and excited to dig deep into her story today. But just to give you an insight, her business, Building Your Confidence, she's the founder and director of it. And she's got so many different branches to the roots of what she's creating, which we're going to get stuck into today. But I'm going to leave it there because you know that I love to talk. But let's welcome Kat to the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, Luke. It's great to be here. Exciting.
Oh, I know we've just been, and I also do this quite regularly. We just chat a little bit beforehand, don't we? Just have a little bit of a debrief, and we was talking about some amazing things, which we will go into, you know, later on. But I think a great place to start in this episode is let people know what got you to that place or that mindset in your life to go, I'm going to create this Building Your Confidence program, this business.
Yes, well, there have been lots of steps towards that. So I can take you into lots of different aspects of the journey. But I think if you're asking about, you know, founding it as a business, of my own business, I'll be honest, that's tied in with my experience. We're a military family. So it came actually from a place of kind of fear and not feeling good enough, which I know a lot of people might resonate with. We moved all the time. I mean, I've moved 16 times in the 18 years that I've been based in my home village. I'm actually back in my home village between Chester and Wrexham now. But during the 18 years that we were moving around, so I actually had this kind of like, I can't finish any course. I keep having to move jobs. Like any military partner listening will resonate with that because you just put roots down and then they're ripped up again. So in a way, once we'd moved back off the final posting, when the kind of straw had broken the camel's back in a way, was we were out on the prairies of Canada, somewhere called Bathurst, British Army Training Unit Suffield, if anyone's heard of it. And then we landed back in the UK and I kind of thought, if I'm going to build something, funnily enough, didn't know then, that's 10 years ago, didn't know it become Building Your Confidence. I was building my own confidence. I was building my own business. And I realized if I want something actually consistent, yes, part of me wanted to be employed, but honestly, I thought, no, I want to build something that matters so much to me that can't be taken away. It can't go anywhere because it's mine. So that's what I've built over the last 10 years. Yeah.
I like that. And I mean, I've got to ask, just 16 times in 18 years. I mean, that
Yeah.
is a lot. So with that then, if you can reflect on, I know it's a lot to reflect on, obviously, but if there's anything that kind of really stands out to you, what did you take away, or what did you feel when, you say, getting grounded, starting to find my feet, and then boom, you're kind of moving again?
Well, I realized that the root of it is kind of confidence and self-belief that, I've got the ability to cope with this somehow. Yeah, and I think that would be it. But then in terms of my mental health side of things, I think it would be nice if we didn't need to be as resilient. It would be kind of nice, I guess, in terms of relationships, if we all had more self-awareness, actually, and more a sense of togetherness and a sense
Yeah.
of empathy and compassion, there'd be far less need to sort of feel so alone, and I've just got to be resilient. And so I think it has a bit of a I have a bit of a double-edged relationship with that word, which is why I don't necessarily go on about it a lot, because I want people just to be in a kinder world, I guess, in general, and contribute to that. I'd rather be part of the solution of not having to be so resilient if we work more together. And if we have more awareness, we're actually going to find win-wins everywhere, rather than, I've just got to deal with everything and nobody's helping me. Does that make sense?
No, yes, it does make sense. I think, obviously, like anything, we can put pressure on words. Like, certain words can give some sort of like energy towards it. To some people, like, say you say the word resilient mindset, it obviously can be a bit like you say, self-doubt, like, oh, I could never be resilient, oh, it's too much for me. And then there could be other people that it drives them further. There's like you say, it's a double-edged sword. I can see that there is that, but I think where you've just spoken there, again, relating it back to the confidence, I love that self-awareness aspect, because I think that is, like I say, so key, and I think very underrated in today's society, in relationships, in general day-to-day life, because we're so distracted. Was you always like confident, Kat, in terms of building this? And also I want to ask is, obviously I kind of know the answer already, but I want you to talk about it, is when was that first moment for you when you genuinely felt authentically like this is a confident moment for you?
I think looking back now, I found it quite energizing, I'd say, at first. There's going to be a but, At first you're sort of young and it's varied and it's adventure, and but then sort of children come along, and then I've literally got a photograph of when my children were like 1 and 4 sitting in a packing box, and it was kind of like, yeah, I'm just going to ship the kids to Canada, and I'm kind of, oh God, we're moving again. So there came a point, if I'm really honest, which I think is part of what you're asking, is, when was it almost too much? Was it always easy? But I've had started this fascination with like resilience. Basically, there's this word that's been around, obviously a lot of people use it, and I was kind of going, I've got this resilience, until you don't, until you go, oh, okay. Really, my first TEDx talk actually came out from this, which is, I called it What to Do When You Don't Know What to Do. And the moment, I can feel it now. I'll describe it for you. I was standing in my military kitchen, which, for anyone that's connected with the military, all of the quarters are painted magnolia inside. They're all the same colour, because nobody's allowed colours, because the next people are coming in and they always have to stay the same, right? That's one thing people may not realise.
No,
And I was
didn't
looking
know.
down the corridor at the front door, and I knew that for the next 7 months, any minute of the day or night, there could be a knock on that door, and it could be 2 people standing there, the chaplain and the Army Welfare Officer, because my husband, Roddy, who you've met at the
Yes.
Speaker Awards, which was one of the lovely things, he doesn't come out a lot in my world. Anyway, so he's still alive and well, but at that time was on the front line in Afghanistan. And I was like, all of that resilience, all of those moves kind of mean nothing, because I do not know what to do. And I was looking around mentally kind of looking around at the army patch, it's called, around me, all these fellow military spouses, thinking, what's the secret to like somehow surviving this? Some of them were kind of self-medicating or just 24-hour watching Sky News. The others seemed to be like some rising like phoenixes through the flames. And I'm like, well, I need to learn what this is. And this is part of the story. Actually led to a book. I was kind of, I need to understand, because I had behind the corner of my on the kitchen wall with all of that magnolia, was a bright red poster that said, keep calm and carry on. And I was like,
Oh,
what the hell does that mean? I'm going to damn well find out. And that was the seed of the book. Yeah.
I'm sure there will be people listening in onto this as well, Kat, that can relate to that from a military background. I didn't know that. I've had people going that in the Marines and stuff and go for the special forces, but not the military side. And I think just for you, I can imagine as well, just in that environment, obviously there's going to be so much fear. There's going to be so much anxiety. Like you say, if they're constantly watching Sky News. So, with you using the word resilience, because I obviously noticed this in your your bio on LinkedIn. What does resilience, now that you've discovered it more, what does it mean to you?
Well, interestingly, so I'm a clinical hypnotherapist now, so I'm not quite sure what I'm going to answer the way I'm going to answer the question. But honestly, the thing I care most about is kind of what you've just said, that when people can go into hypnosis, our subconscious mind, right, is like your Google search engine. And what I always start with, yes, we'll have lots of confidence blocks, right? I call them protector parts. So what I help people with, they come to me with anxiety or imposter syndrome or
Right.
procrastination or people pleasing or depression or loads of fears and phobias. But the one thing I will start with is kind of what you've said there. There'll be a moment. You're born naturally 10 out of 10 confident. There's no child that arrives on the planet, looks out at the world and goes, I'm not good enough. Everyone's better than me and I don't have what it takes. It isn't true. We're naturally wired. I mean, we're the survivors of 8,000 generations or something, that we're absolute walking miracles. So my job, first and foremost, is to find exactly that. Where are the moments when you just knew you are confident? And for me, Luke, I wouldn't have known this without hypnosis. This came through my own training. I was taken back to one of the earliest memories. I'm 4 years old. I'm in primary school. And a lovely teacher is putting lipstick on my nose. And it came up in hypnosis. I was like, what? Where's this moment? What's this about? And
Yeah.
I felt absolutely like I was shining like a beacon, because I was Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, in the school play. And it was
Oh,
like, I'm supposed to be on that stage. And I absolutely loved it. So my drive to be a speaker was always there. But one of the stories I may come on to is a fear of public speaking got put in. And then I was like, I can't do public speaking. I can't do it. I'm not good enough. But then I realized, no, it matters to me. I get on that stage because it matters and it does light me up. And I have overcome the fear that other people put in the way. Yeah. So thank you for the question.
no. Thank you for answering that. I always love hearing people's answers when you get thrown questions like that, because that's really cool that you'd found that in your hypnosis journey. So just so people can have context who's listening in, when did that moment come up for you then? How long ago was that?
So if I'm honest, I think the journey of having moments of doubt and not feeling good enough, so the root cause of all of our kind of limiting issues really that I help people with, is either not feeling good enough or feeling different or rejected or believing that what we want isn't available to us. So I kind of had all of that going on myself. And as originally I was a counsellor, the army paid for me to qualify. I mean, I've been a physiotherapist back in the day. I may come to that. And then I qualified in relationship therapy and I was building my own practice. But honestly, what frustrated me was that I still couldn't get rid of this. Everyone comes with these not good enough thing, and it was locked in their subconscious. So, am I answering the question? You asked kind of I was going on my own journey. I think that's what I'm trying to say, to actually shift this stuff.
Yeah.
How do you shift this stuff? And it was only through shifting it within myself that I've come to the place where I now say, and I'm not ashamed to say it, every client who comes to me, I say before they come in, I'm exactly the right person for this person at exactly the right time. And this is going to be one of the best sessions I ever have. And I know this now because I'm absolutely brilliant, at what I do, because I absolutely love it and I'm damn good at it. And the more I believe in myself and know that, the more the sessions are just transformational, which is exactly what they need to be. So yeah, I've got them myself, finally, probably about 4 years ago.
4 years ago, right? Okay, so that's good then, and I can tell anyway just from hearing you talk about it, and I know people listening will agree with it. You've got so much energy, but it is that confidence and not even reassurance, but the fact that they're walking in with probably the head down, weights on their shoulders, not feeling good enough, feeling rejected, listen, I know exactly those feelings because I was there when I was depressed back in sport. I was looking down. I felt like I wasn't good enough because I had external and outside voices telling me I weren't good. But then that didn't mean everybody. That was like a minority, not the majority. But you kind of fall on that, don't you? You kind of get sucked into that world and go, all right, I'm not good enough. You make up these stories kind of thing.
Yeah.
But for you then, when you kind of found that moment where, oh my gosh, it's like eureka, oh wow, this confidence is radiating. And what was the biggest change in your day-to-day, your life outside of work? What was the biggest change outside of work from finding this new lease of confidence in your life?
Biggest change, honestly, I think it's the smaller things that you don't necessarily notice have changed until they've changed. So I think it's internal chatter just gone. There used to be all this kind of and now it's just, I have, like I say, that example of the voice. I'm doing exactly the right thing at exactly the right time. I used to have the opposite of like, whatever I'm doing, I should probably be doing something else, or a bit of that parent guilt. So I think that might resonate with a lot of people. If you're running your own business, oh, should I be with my family? Should I be resting? Should I be doing more work? You're kind of always doubting yourself because there doesn't ever seem enough time. Yep. I also used to have a voice that said, I just don't have enough time. Again, I've switched that around and gone, I have all the time I need because I'm doing exactly the right thing at exactly the right time. Because if we put those thought processes in, now that I know as much as I do about the subconscious mind, they become self-fulfilling. So we just realize those voices are just not helpful. And so it's all about intention. It's about energy. It's about visualizing. What do I want?
Yeah, it's the small things. I mean, I think everybody, if they've got this kind of feeling that they want this big exponential kind of instant result, when you've just had those smaller things that actually matter more, such as even just the internal voice, the inner game, the chatter that's going on inside that. I know myself when I ask questions like with guys inside the community, like, when do you feel your best? What are you saying to yourself? What are your actions? What are your behaviors when you don't feel your best and you feel really down and low? What are your actions? What are your behaviors? And what's the voice kind of saying? It's like you're flipping it on its head. And I think you've kind of shared a lot there and how you're tapping into the subconscious. So just as a bit of a sidetrack off just you here with what you do, if there is someone that's listening that's going, my days, Kat, I have got this feeling that I'm not good enough, I am kind of sabotaging myself. There is a lot of negative in my world. I haven't really got time to do what I really truly want to do, if it is a business or a life. What would you say as the best thing to do first, even if it's a small thing, just to kind of help them, even if it's 1% progress?
I think the most important thing to know is that it's the issue and not your issue. So if there's something like anxiety, never say, I'm anxious, I'm a procrastinator, I've got imposter syndrome. It's not you. It's the imposter syndrome, the anxiety, because you're not born with it and it's come from somewhere. And most importantly, it believes, so people might have heard of a book called The Body Keeps the Score. The body holds within it, I call them these protector parts. They have no idea how old you are now because their root cause will lie in the subconscious, like I've just said, with things you may not remember, but they're showing up for you and they believe, my way of putting it is that they put you in an invisible cage that they think is protecting, but actually it's keeping you stuck, not keeping you safe. So that would be the biggest thing I would say, is that the invisible cage is not who you are. Knowledge is power. If you can start to be aware, like this issue feels like it's keeping me stuck, I can get rid of that. If once I start to understand how it's trying to actually help me, you can literally sort of lead into it and have a conversation with it and go, how long have you been here? What do you believe you're protecting me from? And it will kind of tell you, it'll go like, oh, what if you make a fool of yourself? What if you fail? You're going to feel like you failed when you were 10. This is where I help people to sort of have a conversation with all of this. But in a way, you can start to say, you're hurting me. You're not helping me. I'm going to dial you down. I'm going to sort of switch you off. I'm going to do it anyway, because it matters to me. If it matters enough, you'll find, a reason kind of thing, and not an excuse. We've heard that before, haven't we? But yeah, I think that's what I'd say. The you can come through that negative voice.
Yeah, that to me is gold, Kat. Thank you for sharing that, because there's few things that really stood out to me, just what you said there, especially about saying I'm anxious or it's not you. It's like you weren't born with it. It's been developed, and that means that you can push past it. You can create this, like you say, building your confidence, this new confident self, this new best self. So I just think that's a really good, just to sit in with that a second.
Yes. And it can actually leave. That's the other thing. I mean, it may surprise people listening. In the normal world of things, people say you've got to manage your anxiety. In my world, we take it out. Because if it's come from somewhere, you can take it out. If you've learned something, you can unlearn it. You don't have to manage things. As a rapid transformational therapist, knowledge is power. When you understand the root cause, you can take it out. And that's what I do.
I like that as well, is that, yeah, you can take it out. It's not like, oh, okay, this is it. It's part of me forever now. It's stuck with me. Because you hear that a lot, don't you? With a lot of people in life, like, yeah, it's just part of me now. It's just the way it is, or, it's my age, whatever it may be. We obviously hear it. And I think it's good to hear your perspective on it, and obviously you do it day to day, so you obviously see those shifts. But for you, Kat, when you started going into this therapy work, what was you kind of doing before? So if we go back in time, when you say obviously you wanted to build your own business, did you used to be employed, or have you always been self-employed? Like, how did that journey begin for you in business?
So my degree was in physiotherapy. Well, yeah, I left school, went to King's College in London. And so I went into the NHS as a physiotherapist, first job Edinburgh Royal Infirmary.
Ah.
But looking back now, so I bring in strength psychology to what I do. And what I realize is I couldn't play to all of my strengths within that employed scenario. I didn't know that then. But what I realize now is I had quite a creative, that sort of entrepreneurial way of wanting to do things my way. I felt quite, boxed in.
Yeah.
And the other thing, the army took me away from being a physiotherapist, but I don't think I'd be one anyway, especially since I just want you to sort of visualize it for you. I was standing at one point, I was in orthopedics, which was all about hip replacements, knee replacements, that kind of thing. And I was responsible for people getting home. It was the physio that signed you off. Are you fit to walk out of the door? Can you climb the stairs? All that kind of thing. And I would have, one side was of people with hip replacements, the other side of the ward was knee replacements. And I was standing there thinking, what's going on in people's heads of all these patients is more important than the injury or the difficulty or the complexity of the surgery they've been through. So I realized very quickly it's their minds that I'm speaking to. I'm not really treating their bodies. I'm motivating their minds. And if I can't connect with them and they're not connecting with me, they're going to be here 5 days longer or whatever, because they're like, oh, here comes the physioterrorist. Oh, what's she going to make me do? And I'm like, well, you're going to be here another week,
Yeah.
So I realized I'm more interested in the neck up, but we hadn't really been taught all about that. You're treating the body. It's like, no, we're not. We're treating the mind, So that was my motivation to kind of say, I really want to understand people's mindsets and how they're approaching things.
No, that's a really good thing there. You was in a role, and I think this is going to relate to a lot of people as well, Kat, the feeling of feeling trapped. If you've got that creative edge, you've got this sort of certain way. I've got my unique way of wanting to deliver things, but maybe it's not fixed and suited to the way they're telling me to do things. Honestly, the last guy I had on, he's got his own podiatrist sort of clinic now, but you don't even say it's podiatry. It's a lot of like working with athletes and biomechanics and the feet and all this kind of stuff. But he was saying the same thing. He worked part of the NHS with two other guys for like 12 years. They had a clinic and whatever. But he was saying the same thing. He said, I just felt so trapped and isolated. And I felt that the things that I was trying to do. So what you've just shared there, I think just people listening in, if that's how you're feeling, right? So it'd be nice to hear your next step, because obviously you got out of it. And I think it's important that people can actually get out of the situation. Like I say, they can get rid of anxiety, they can do all this, and can unlearn certain things. So for you, what was your next step when you started to realize, right, okay, I want to start tapping into the mind more?
It took quite a while in a way to get there, partly because of, as I've already said, the moving and the military. But I actually went traveling kind of, and I had this moment of sort of epiphany where I literally, it was about midnight, I was falling asleep, and I just woke up and thought, I have to leave. I have to quit physiotherapy. But obviously at that point, it was only early 20s. And again, I had that mindset that a lot of people might resonate with of, but I've got a profession. I'm a physiotherapist. How can I ever be anything else? This is what I am. And whatever follows I am is what we are and what we become. So to shift that, I was like, I am a physiotherapist. always will be. But it was just this kind of moment of epiphany. Well, no, I can change whatever I want to be. I can change that. So I went off traveling, hoping to sort of have something. Came back, hadn't quite answered that question. Ended up in medical sales. So I think the message probably of a lot of people resonate with this is you just take the next step.
Yes.
You just take the next opportunity, and it takes you somewhere unexpected. So I then thought, what do I know about medical sales? Nothing. Obviously, and I thought, I'm just a physio, right? What did they see? Whoa, hang on a minute. You've got empathy, relationship skills. You've got knowledge of hospitals. You can talk to, you know how the structure works. You know all the names and medical terms. I was like, oh yeah, well, why? Is that important? Of course it is. So I did really well in medical sales. I then married my husband, and off we go in the military journey. But as I've said, our first posting was to Germany. And it was then that it rang the bell of my mum before me had been a relationship therapist. So since I was eight, we'd had what I just thought was normal conversations that everybody has, which of course I realise now it was about just challenges in people's lives. She wouldn't give details of her clients, but themes that would come up of just challenges and experiences and mental health issues. So I opted to do that, and I applied, and the army said, yes, we'll pay for you to qualify. So from back then, which would be about 2005, I think, I supported military families through relationship therapy, and did that as we moved different places. I then was the counsellor on the base.
Oh, no way. I think that way you just said, take the next move, make the next move, falling into that. Then obviously someone's found a skill set that you've got. You've kind of gone down. Again, it's just led, hasn't it? It's just kind of one thing's gone on to the next, and how that then probably in your mind, I'm not saying you was thinking, but if that like negative I've just started this relationship therapy work at this, say, Germany location where it's all kind of been born, or they've paid for your quality, and then you're like, oh, I'm moving again. Can I transfer that? Or does that mean that job's gone out the window? I mean, was there anything like that kind of going through your mind as you was traveling?
Absolutely. It was so hard. We then got moved to Swindon, followed by Salisbury, and I nearly stopped. I nearly left counselling. Again, it may resonate with people or not, but we can come across quite challenging people, shall we say. So I had a very challenging supervisor who just seemed to have no empathy, no way, and I felt again, am I no good at this? I thankfully had somebody else I could speak to that went, it's other people have had a problem with this individual. I was like, well, thank goodness it's not me. But you can really get, thrown off at times. So it wasn't always smooth. Then it was up to Inverness, then it was Canada, and all of these changes brought the doubts and the fears in probably every single time. But what I do know now, so when I first came back to the UK, I looked into strength psychology, and I do have a bit of a natural resilient strength. So that's another aspect we can maybe talk more about, which is kind of like if somebody puts an obstacle in my way. So resilience is almost like if you said to me, Luke, Kat, you're never going to write this second book. And even if you do, it's going to be rubbish.
Right.
I'd be like, right, I need to prove you wrong now because you've just said I can't do it. And that's what happened. That's why I applied for physio, if I'm honest. A teacher said, one of the most popular courses in the country, you'll never get in. So when someone tells me, something's hard, I say, watch me.
I like that. No, I really, really like that. And I think that actually kind of leads nicely onto what I was thinking anyway, going to next is where you'd spoken earlier. Because, look, we know there's a lot of kind of facets of what you do, right? There's different ways people can kind of experience what you do. So you've obviously said about you had a TEDx talk, which I think, by the way, massive respect for that, by the way. 2 TEDx talks. Sorry, my bad, 2. I don't want you to miss out on that. And then, you obviously you're an author of one book going on to your second. Let's talk about that as well. And speaking, you've kind of brought up imposter syndrome quite a lot. I think, share what imposter syndrome is so people can understand from your perspective. And then, yeah, let's go into those experiences of author and speaking that I guess imposter syndrome came up for you.
Well, I think for me, the imposter syndrome, not going to say mine,
Yeah.
follow my own advice. The imposter syndrome, you used to say, or it used to be a feeling, because again, it's not there anymore, of like, someone's going to find me out. There's going to be an
Mm.
email or a call, or somebody's going to go like, oh, excuse me, like, do you realize you're incompetent and you don't know what you're doing? So it's that kind of feeling of like something at some point is just going to tell me and it's all going to come crumbling down. So that's how it felt for me. When's that going to happen? And of course, you realize it never is going to happen, but especially it could happen if you've got it so lodged in your mind that you're looking for it that you almost anything is making it feel like it's happening, even though it's not happening. That's what our mind does.
Yeah, so obviously you spoke about imposter syndrome and then how that, I guess, came up for you in things such as your speaking, because obviously you did TEDx, you was talking about, oh my God, I can't do this, I can't do that. And
Yeah.
obviously you called back on your 4-year-old self, where you then got up on stage as Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, which I thought was pretty cool. And then, yeah, so just talking about the authoring and speaking. Yeah.
Yes. Well, again, what I realized that I did do the first TEDx still with that kind of fear of public speaking. I think the drive must have got me over that line because it does matter. But again, through my own kind of experiencing the training of therapy, what I realized was I'd been 15 years old back in the school, and I was sort of sitting at the back of my form class basically. And the form tutor said, who would like to apply to be head girl or head boy? And so I went up at the end of the class and said, oh, Mrs. Emmett, I'd like to apply to be head girl. And she said, Catherine, that I was then, oh, like, oh, I don't think you've quite got what it takes. I think you'd need a lot more confidence to speak in church at Christmas or to speak in whole school assemblies. Like, I don't think you could do it. Which, of course, literally put in a fear of public speaking, because someone I've known for 5 years that I respect position of authority has just said to me, you don't have what it takes. Now,
Mm.
again, I think what I want to sort of say to the listeners is like, those kind of things, we think we've moved on. I would never have, I didn't remember that kind of consciously, not really. But once it lodges in, even a little thing like that you think you've moved on from, it kind of lingers. And then almost the next time someone might say, well, would you do, oh no, thanks. And you say no to an opportunity and you're not really sure why, but you just go, oh, I don't know, I'm all right, thank you. I no, choose somebody else. And so it wasn't until I went back to that and thought, hang on a minute, and again, part of what I do, if me today could stand next to myself at 15 and go, by the way, I'm a professional speaker, it's like, whoa, hang on a minute. You do have what it takes. She's not correct. Of course, you can show what you can do. So that's been part of my journey with imposter syndrome. And just another little extra to that. So I then took myself into a qualification in strength psychology. And that was my main focus. So they asked me on that day, why are you here on this training? And I said the truth, which was to support my clients. I want to learn something that can help with that feeling of not feeling good enough or imposter syndrome, whatever it is. But then the tutor said, yeah, Kat, okay. But why are you here? Just for you. And at that point, I just moved back from Canada. I was like, we're buying a house and the children are tiny and my husband's posted away and I'm starting my own business. Like, I don't even know who I am at this point, let alone why I'm here for me. But a little bell rang, the one that was the little Rudolph bell. It was like, actually, I want to make a difference one to many. I love making a difference one to one, but could I leave today knowing I've got what it takes to be a speaker? So out came my 7 strengths, which is within a test called Strength Scope. And he said, on that page, Kat, that's the kind of speaker you can be. It's already there. And so I literally practice what I preach. I don't do speaking because it's easy for me. I don't do it because I've got a natural self-confidence strength. I do it from a place of empathy, compassion, creativity, enthusiasm, all of the stuff that makes me who I am. And that's the energy side of it. Yeah.
Just again though, like how you've discovered on this path of speaking is you've obviously taken on education, so you've used that knowledge as power. But again, that question, I think as well, that why are you here, Kat? Away from because obviously we're natural human beings where we love to serve, we love to please others, we want to make sure everybody else is okay, and then I think that in a way, I guess, caught you off guard, but at the same time was a real good thing for you to take away, because then it got you understanding who you are and again what your strengths are. So from like going on that journey, going into the speaking, when did you land, or where was your first speaking gig? And if you can recall it, what was kind of the feeling after once you'd done it? Because obviously I'm sure you would have built up a lot of nerves and excitement and just like, oh God, I don't know whether I can do this, but you just did it anyway?
Yes. I mean, probably the first one really was when my first book came out, and I arranged to do a kind of workshop based on it back in Canada in a place called Medicine Hat.
Oh, wow.
It was in Medicine Hat College, was my first kind of gig. And it was based on the book, which is called Stay Calm and Content, no matter what life throws at you. So that was the kind of basis of my talks at that time.
No way. So what have you learned though? From going, I mean, it sounds like you're somebody who jumps in kind of feet first. You'll give it a good go, and you kind of then pave your path as you commit to doing these things.
Yeah, definitely.
What would you say, just as a whole reflection on the things that you've done? What have you learned the most? And I want to know like what you've learned from, like what you've learned externally and what you've learned internally from kind of going down this path.
I think the thing stood out for me is that who you are and the drive to do what you do is there. It doesn't go away, and there is a kind of a voice that tells you what matters to you. And I think we learn to listen more inwards and stop listening so much outwards. So I think that's really would be the journey. And then the more that I kind of realize I was kind of right, and I've always had this passion and this determination, the more then the outward part starts reflecting the inward part. So I feel this is hopefully kind of what you're saying, that I then realize, again, one of my mantras now it is, the right people to support me are either here or they're on their way. Because again, one of the analogies I use, if we all got a different car tomorrow and it's a bright red Mini, and we're suddenly driving around in a bright red Mini, you would suddenly see all the other bright red Minis on the road that you haven't even noticed before. So I've started to realize, like, I'm aligned. There are lots of other people to support me on this journey. And so, I've gathered knowledge and contacts, and like this call right now, you feel it. We were sitting on that table and I just thought, we just got chatting, and and it's like, there's something right here, and just trust it. That's kind of it, because you learn, I think, to dull down the noise of what other people might be trying to tell you should or shouldn't do. And then you learn to sort of dial up the internal bit. So that's really what I look back now and realize each time I followed the kind of gut feeling. Those are the moments that I now remember. Like, I didn't know at the time, like I've just said to you, I literally I was drifting into sleep, woke up, sat up in bed and went, I'm going to quit physio. At the time I was thinking, I'm insane. Of course my parents are going, what are you doing? And of course nobody understood that. I didn't understand it. Look back now and I'm going, Kat, well done. You listened and you did it. That was exactly the right thing to do, because you could have been stuck there for another 10 years, but you listened and you acted on it. And so I'm like, I did well. I thought I was crazy, but no, I did well. So does that answer the question, kind of?
Yeah, no, it does. Like, don't ever feel as well, Kat, that like you have to have a definitive answer to the question. I just love hearing what comes from your heart, from your mind. Talking about your mind, I think it's what really struck me was that self-awareness and actually being who you are and what you desire to become. I mean, we know this anyway, and I don't know whether you do it obviously in your coaching and therapy and stuff, but it's just asking like questions like, who do you want to become, and what do you really want? Like, what do you actually really, really want? And I think it's like a really tough question to answer, maybe if you've never been asked it before. Maybe you've lost who you are as a person, maybe because you're so used to being conditioned in a way, or maybe you're comfortable, you're complacent. And I think what, again, is striking me and standing out, and I'm sure the listeners will agree with me when I say this, is I don't really feel, Kat, that you've ever been comfortable.
Yeah, well, I think that's what attracted me to the army. It was almost like a deliberate discomfort just to see what's out there.
Yeah.
Because it's crazy. Like, who joins the military and then, because we used to feel, a lot of us would say, nobody understands it. And then if adversity comes your way, they kind of say, well, didn't you expect it? So you don't get a lot of understanding and support, because people are kind of like, well, what did you expect? And I always like to put that as, that's a bit like saying, if you cross the road and get hit by a bus, people are going, well, you should have expected that because you crossed the road. You're like, oh, thanks. Okay, so no compassion or understanding then, because it's been really hard. But you do have to kind of go, well, I did choose this to a degree. And I've certainly chosen, I don't know, I hadn't really thought of it like that, to be honest. I don't know what put me on that path. But no, I don't like to be comfortable.
No, wait. It's just that I'm obviously kind of like, you know, taking a step out and I'm listening to what you're saying and I'm understanding like, oh, okay. And I just know that people are going. I know people are going. How did she even do that? Like, how did she even go through that? How is she still sane? You know, obviously you've got the book Stay Calm. Is it Stay Calm?
Stay calm and content.
That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, yeah. So we'll get onto that in a second because I think that really is that you've obviously got a calm in your chaos because your life. People will go that must be chaotic, which obviously it is, but you found the calm in the chaos, and I think that's really really good to kind of talk on because as you probably are aware, again, people and we're very fast paced. You know, we don't extract, we don't reflect, we don't slow down. I'm talking from my own previous experience, being just go 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 because you know you have that passion and energy. So for you then going into the world of writing and writing your book, your first one, and obviously I know we can talk about your second one as well. So what made you? I'd love to know now. What made you decide on that title, like Stay Calm and Content?
Well, the book, can't reach a copy right now, but it is the red colour of the Keep Calm and Carry On poster.
Oh
And then
wow,
white writing of Stay Calm and Content. So I think it had been patented. You know, I couldn't literally call it Keep Calm and Carry On,
sure,
especially back then. It was everywhere on mugs and all sorts and tea towels. So it was sort of, and then I was thinking it's sort of about happiness. How do you find happiness in adversity? But part of what I realised was, so the reason it's called Stay Calm and Content is because we can feel content even amidst the storm of life. Kind of when you know that you're doing your best and when you know that this is hard, but it's okay that it's hard and it's okay to cry and it's okay not to know what you're doing and it's okay to ask for help and it's okay to sob or, you know, or to sleep for 3 days. It's all okay. You can get a sense of contentment even when things are completely out of your control.
yes,
Because what's in your control is to say, I'm enough. You know, I'm doing my best. I have got what I need within me. I may not feel like I do at the minute, but I'm going to come through this. Again, one of my favorite phrases really is, and I think that's part of my journey, is like my record, but your record, all of our record for getting through difficult times is 100%. You know, and if you say that, you're like, my record to getting to this point is 100%. So if I've got through that, I stand on the top of that and I can get through this. And it's
yes,
that kind of, you know, contentedness within yourself that say, I don't have to be enjoying this right now. I don't always have to be happy. I don't always
yes,
have all the answers. But what I can be is content that whatever I'm feeling is okay to feel it. And I'm gonna come through this. The sun will rise tomorrow and it's, you know, I'm gonna get there. And that's really what I learned when I felt absolutely in pieces. Absolutely in pieces. I just somehow found something. Yeah.
yeah. I can't even imagine, like say those feelings day to day. Like say those two people coming to a door, but I love that kind of definition and way of talking about the stay calm and stay content. I mean, there was a phrase that I saw, and I kind of say this a lot to people within the networking community when we're just having conversations. Like you're kind of choosing your hard, you know. So choose your hard. So maybe if you split it to make it easier, like you can choose to stay in the same place, or you can choose to kind of create and move on. So both are hard,
Yeah.
but which one do you want to go with? You know, and I think for you, it's like that. Just on the back of what you shared, I thought that was kind of pretty cool.
And also something my mum always said is like, not doing something is also a choice. You know, so it's kind of like, again, choose your heart. It's like if you want to stay where you are, that's okay, but you're choosing to stay where you are. You know, and just acknowledge that that is a choice. And you don't have to change it now, but then that's kind of like, all right, so yeah, which is harder? If I'm going to choose where I am, maybe that's really, well, so don't stay where you are, you know, do something else, because it's not, you know, what's easy is doesn't always seem easy. You have to look into these things. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I feel as well you've created this evidence for yourself based on the life's journey that you've already been through, where you say, you know, we've already spoken about you've not really been comfortable that much. It's been, I guess, if people was looking at it from the outside, would go, it's chaos, but you found calm in that. You know, you found some peace, and you've been able to create this business that now is building your confidence. So, if there's somebody listening into this today, Kat, that is like, all my days, I can relate to parts of what you're sharing. I'm at a stage where I did have confidence at a certain point in my life, but I've lost it all now. And I've got that inner critic. It's pulling me down. It's getting to me. I guess it's consuming who I am as a person. So what would you say, and from your own experience, because it's always good to extract from your own experience, what would you say is the first step to start building that confidence again?
First of all, to define the issue. So the first thing I'll ask to people when they come to me is kind of, if I could wave a magic wand and you could have whatever you want, what do you want? And another really useful emotion is actually kind of jealousy and envy, because when I say that question, if you can start to picture what you want, we can get it. The hardest part of what I do is when people don't know what they want.
Yeah.
So that can be a challenge. But if you know what you want, you're already halfway there. All of our emotions are just energy. We just sort of put names on them. But the energy of actually being envious or jealous, as long as we're of the right thing. I'm not talking about Instagram influencers or something like, or if you
Yeah.
really are jealous of them, then okay, that's plastic surgery or makeup or whatever. But what I mean, what people are actually envious of is usually they look so chilled. They've got a lovely time with their family. They're
Yes.
actually jealous of having time, of having
Yep.
inner peace, of
Yep.
having confidence, of feeling content. That's what we're really jealous of. And we might get misaligned with what that looks like, but if it's genuine, that's what we want. And so I would start from that kind of focusing on that tells you what actually matters to you first and foremost. And then I would help people to peel back the layers of what's getting in the way of that. Where have you gone off track and why? And something I wanted to loop back to that you sort of mentioned a few minutes ago was I would turn it people pleasing. So, how you kind of said, what if we're
Yeah.
over giving and we're over thinking of everybody else and we're putting ourselves last? That is actually a response to trauma. So in a way, what I actually specialize in is trauma. There's complex PTSD, there's
Yes.
PTSD, and complex PTSD is small, that might seem minor at the time, but it's ongoing kind of challenges to, do you feel seen as a child? Did you feel heard?
Mm.
Did you feel important? Did you feel validated? Did you feel empowered? Did you get to make your own decisions? Were you listened to? Were you sort of told, what do you feel like that for? Or you don't know what you're talking about. Those can be ongoing things that, especially if you're a relational person then that has, like myself and probably like you, if you're then wired with empathy and compassion, what you start to do is just dampen your own, I don't even know what I want. Like if you'd asked me as a teenager, what flavor ice cream would you like? Or even as a young adult, really, I would have gone, oh, I don't know, whatever you're having, Luke, like whatever there is.
Right.
Because it's like, that's kind of people pleasing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never really been asked to make my own decisions. I don't trust my own instincts. So that would often have a lot of people that would come and go, I'm on this path that I don't even know why I'm living this life. Was it to please my dad? I don't know. Did I, end up with this partner because I wanted to rescue them? Like, did I end up in this career because I thought it was just the right thing to do because my teacher said I was good at whatever? And you start to turn around one day and go, how did I even get here?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and that's what I'll start to unravel, really. It's like, you do know who you are. It just may well be buried under layers and layers and layers of not being listened to and never being asked.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I'm like nodding my head here. I mean, obviously, people listening over here, not knowing this, if they do watch any sort of video, it feels like just nodding. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get that, because that was so good, and I know so many people relate to that. Kat. Obviously, you've been in this game a long time, so you really do understand people, and you make them feel heard, listened to, and understood. But I think, yeah, that question on how did I even get here? I can imagine so many people would be literally asking that question right now. Like, yeah, this is, I don't know, just kind of ended up here, And then like, again, making those decisions and committing to it as well. Like, just a simple, what ice cream flavor do you want? They do. I hear it. You hear it day to day. Just have whatever you're having. Yeah,
Yeah.
just whatever.
I have a voice now. The reason what I really want to say is, like, I literally practice what I preach. Going back to the post that you put on that kind of brought me onto this call, it's like,
Oh yes.
I now have a voice that I've never had before. And now I would never want any of my clients to do anything that I haven't actually done myself. Like, I guarantee it. It's like, I have every question I would ask someone, I've been asked and I've answered. Everything that I've ever done with anyone, I've done myself. I have walked the walk. I continue to do it. And I'll say with people come to me of all ages, but it's like, I'm just a few steps ahead of you. I have walked this journey, and I will just come back a little bit and I will take you with me. And it makes me feel emotional to say it, to be honest. It's like, that's what confidence is. That's what I want to be as a speaker. The brighter I can shine, and to say, I now know I'm enough. I now know I'm damn good at what I do. But most importantly, the reason I say that is so I shine out and you can see that you can do it as well. That's the point of this. Not that I'm great, but that you're great, and I'm going to help you to think that you're great. That's my job. To do myself out of a job is the other thing I say. My job is to do myself out of a job. You don't need me. You just need me to take your hand for a little bit, and then you don't need me.
No, that is so good. Yeah, you're a part of their life's journey, and you're helping them along the way through again an experience where you can relate to them. You started with no confidence. You had like imposter syndrome. You had all of this stuff, and you've been able to get rid of it. Yeah. And I think that is like what you just said there, and I really love this about you, Kat. And it does come across, and I did appreciate your comment, and it just made me think, yes, it's refreshing. This is to hear this, that you are authentic, and you are transformational, and you are doing what you've already done. You are preaching it. And I think based on what we were talking about before we hit the record button about faking it until you make it, right? You said you wanted to share a bit of your perspective on that, because we were talking about, like, some people will say, oh, but you kind of got to fake it until you make it. And then some people, like we've agreed on that you don't have to fake it until you make it. So yeah, go away, share on that.
Well, I think for me, what I'd relate it to the most is what I've learned through my storytelling kind of journey of investing in myself in terms of speaking and storytelling. So I think I'd like to approach the answer in this way, is that the stories that relate to people the most are the ones that are most vulnerable and most authentic. And so, that's not faking it. That's the deepest truth. And then when we share our own deepest truth, like, other people feel most seen, heard, and understood when they understand you. And again, one of my favorite phrases in terms of speaking is like, nobody cares what I know or what you know, for that matter, until they know why we care. And when they know why we care, they're going to listen to what you know. And so that's not faking it, because you're kind of going, this matters to me, and I'm going to explain to you, what the hell am I doing here? I'm going to tell you why I'm here. And then you're going to go, oh, wow, she's authentic. And then you're going to be far more powerful, in my opinion, if you don't fake it, but you actually say why something matters to you. And so that's where I do help people with overcoming a fear of public speaking and telling their story. And I will say to them, getting onto that stage, what the message that you're there to share, the difference you want to make, will get you on the stage, because it's not about you. It's about how you want those people to feel. What do you want them to be thinking or doing differently after what you've said? And so they will pick up if you're faking it and kind of going, yay, I'm all this or that. They don't have to be. They don't want the bells and whistles. They want to know that they can resonate with you. And that's what I think. Yes, there'll be an element of feel the fear and do it anyway. I don't mind that one. I think feel the fear and do it anyway is a more, for me, more positive version of fake it till you make it. It's like, that's the one I would agree with. Feel the fear, do it anyway, but don't fake it. That's what would be my take.
No, I really like that. I do. I think there's two sides to it, obviously, but in the way that you've gone about in the storytelling and about what people really want to hear the most. You've obviously been to events before. I've been to events, and yeah, the ones that I tend to say, gosh, they made that, or they was the most, engaging, I wanted to hear more, are the ones that are not talking about what they know. They've made us feel a certain way through the vulnerability, exactly. Through the authenticity and courage that they've taken to build or create whatever they've created. So I can really, really land with that. So, Kat, we are actually getting towards the end of the episode. Would you believe we are good at chatting, but I think there's been so much powerful stuff in this episode. But this is a question I do love to ask every single guest that comes onto the episode. I know you've listened to a few of them, so I don't know whether you've heard their answers, but this is your definition. So wherever it goes, just go with it. Okay. So what does mastering your life mean to you?
Ooh. Well, yeah, my answer to that question came to me about a year ago, actually. And mastering my life would be, this might sound arrogant, I don't know, but it's feeling that I've already retired. So I actually say now that I don't work, because I just get paid to do what I absolutely love to do. And that makes me feel like I've mastered my life, because it's kind of like, what would I be doing if I didn't have to work? I'd be doing this. I'm never going to retire, because I just talk about what I care about and I help people, So that's what I feel mastering my life is that. And like, for example, tonight I'm going open water swimming, and I'm going to lunch with a friend a week on Friday in the daytime, because I run my own business. But I did have, again, another light bulb moment that might resonate with someone a few years ago. Someone said, if you run your own business and you're your own boss, don't be the worst boss you've ever had. And I was like, oh. So what would be the best boss I've ever had? Actually kind of practicing what I preach again and saying what matters to me. I'm going to carve out that time. Don't get me wrong, I'm not always perfect, and some of that overdrive, but I notice now I'm like literally my own kind of cheerleader. I'm my own internal best friend. Finally, you can get there to start to say, again, another lovely way of putting it, as if you imagine you're given a little human at birth and it's your job to look after it. Like, that little human is you. And only you really know how best to look after that little you. And we learn that over time. But now finally I'm like, yeah, it's like I've already retired.
Well, that is amazing. And no, honestly though, that is so true though. And I think for anybody that is listening who's got their own business or are employed at the minute and got a business on the side and probably thinking, I really want to get rid of this employed role so I can do and be this business owner that I want to be, what you shared there, I think, would be like, yeah, I want to feel that way. I want to feel like Kat's feeling. So that's a really good share.
Thank you.
So look, obviously the last thing from my side really is, where can people find you, Kat, if they want to connect with you?
Oh, amazing. Yes. So the website's called buildingyourconfidence.com, and I'm Kat Stay Calm on Instagram, or Kat Williams on LinkedIn. I think they would be the easiest places. Brilliant
stuff. Well, if you want to share anything about your first and second book.
Yes, the first book's called Stay Calm and Content, no matter what life throws at you. That's on the website or Amazon. And the second one is being birthed at the moment. So it's called The Invisible Cage. And it's kind of everything we've talked about. The invisible cage is what your mind builds that it believes keeps you safe, but actually keeps you stuck. So it's about breaking that invisible cage and stepping out into your fully fledged confidence.
Oh, fantastic. And it's come around with the theme that we've spoken about today. But honestly, Kat, I've really, really enjoyed spending this hour with you. And I just lastly want to say thank you for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been brilliant.
Thank you so much for tuning in on this episode. If you found this useful and it's provided value to you, if you don't mind, go onto my channel, tap follow, and keep in the loop for more podcast episodes like this. And if you want to go one step further, please leave us a positive review. It would mean the world to us, and it would help spread the message to many more people. And also, if you want to go that one step further again, tag us on socials, drop us a message. I will always respond. Look forward to seeing you on the next one.